Yo, it's your boy Mike K. Smith back with another fire stream. Today we are talking about Caitlin Clark. We're talking about the NBA Christmas games. Make sure you go like, comment, and subscribe. Also follow me on AKIS NBA on all social media platforms if you love to hear more content about the WNBA and also, of course, the NBA as well and all basketball in general. But Caitlin Clark is adding another accomplishment to her belt. It just seems like every week we're hearing about Caitlin Clark having an accomplishment. Hopefully, her adding this accomplishment doesn't come with the type of drama and type of nonsense or toxicity that we saw when she was named the Times Magazine's Athletes Sports Person of the Year. Now, Caitlin Clark has been honored by AP as a female athlete of the year, following her important impact on women's sports this past season. And I always say this past season because a lot of times when people think about these awards or they think about these lists that coming out, they think about, well, it's just because of their particular season. No, this is for the entire year. Your impact, what you did for the entire calendar year. How big was your impact? How big was your overall game off the court, generating money, merchandise, impact globally? Like, this is another thing that Caitlin Clark has, once again, another accomplishment on her belt. Honor as the AP Female Athlete of the Year, following her impact in women's sports. And it's not shocking. It's not surprising. She was named on Times, and she also was named on Business as the Businesswoman of the Year. So this is just another accomplishment for Caitlin Clark. And once again, it's because of her having back-to-back historical seasons. I want to keep mentioning this. Back-to-back historical season. It's not just for what she did as a rookie with the Indiana Fever. It's not what she just did in her senior year in Iowa. It just seems like people tend to forget that because of the fact of the matter is like the college season, March Madness, goes directly into the WNBA season. And for her to even dominate the way that she dominated, going from her senior year in college and then going to her rookie season and being able to break records, dominate her senior year in Iowa, and then go and break records and dominate her rookie season with the Indiana Fever is very impressive. But this is an entire calendar year of everything that Caitlin Clark has accomplished. And for the AP Female Athlete of the Year, following the impact in women's sports, she was, let's see. Group of journalists. So 74 journalists that comes out and votes on these awards. So 34 of these journalists voted for Caitlin Clark. She was first place. 35 voted for Caitlin Clark. She was the first place. And then 25 voted for Simone Biles. We know the gymnastics, the greatest female gymnastics to ever play. And Caitlin Clark ended up winning and becoming number one. And I can definitely see that Simone Biles had a case, had an argument, but Simone Biles has been doing this for a very, very long time. And she's very impressive. But also we have to ask ourselves, if the Olympics wasn't really going on, would she be mentioned or probably be in second place? Probably not. So Caitlin Clark is definitely, I feel like, deserving of this award. She's deserving of all the accomplishments that she has gotten. And she becomes the fourth women's basketball player to be honored as the Female Athlete of the Year since it was first presented in 1931. That means it's only been three other women prior to Caitlin Clark winning this year. Right now, the AP Female Athlete of the Year, it was only three women before her. And she joins Cheryl Swoops, legend, 1993, Rebecca Lobo, 1995, and Candace Parker, who did it in 2008 and 2021. So this is a historic accomplishment for Caitlin Clark. This is another big accomplishment on top of the many accomplishments that she has gone off this season to really achieve. And it just goes to show you that she's a living legend. It's like she's very iconic, and it's very important for us to hone in on that. This is for the entire season. 2 historical seasons back-to-back in Iowa in her rookie season, and she becomes the fourth woman to hold this accomplishment as the AP Female Athlete of the Year. That's big time. That's big time. And Caitlin Clark came out and they interviewed her in a phone interview. She said that she grew up a fan of Candace Parker and the people who came before me. I've been honored in this way. It's super special and I'm thankful. So that's what she said in a phone interview. It was a great year for women's basketball and women's sports. And the one thing about Caitlin Clark is that she brings a lot of attention to the game of basketball, but she's always highlighting and starting when when people talk about her accomplishments. She always is not talking about in first. She's never talking about herself in first person. She's always talking about we. We did this. We did this. We accomplished this. Women's sports, like, and that shows a lot about her, kind of to her character, how she wants to continue to make sure that, yes, I'm getting a lot of praise. Yes, I'm getting a lot of recognition, but I want to continue to highlight the great things that's going around women's sports in general, because it's not just me as well, even though I am probably the most popular woman like sports figure right now, which is probably true. It's just like she still always wants to highlight that we, and that's very important. And once again, it shows about her character, I feel like. And and we know that Caitlin Clark has been, for all her successes, Caitlin Clark has had an attention that she's brought to women's basketball. She's also always been the centerpieces of debates, online, toxic culture. And I feel like she always carries herself very well. Like, she's never really engaged in a lot of the controversy. She's never really engaged in a lot of letting somebody trip her up, or you hearing her when she does her interviews. She's never allowing people to get the best of her or one up on her or trick her with questions. She's very great at when she's answering these questions. And for her to be that young and be that articulate and really be very media trained and trained very, very well, she's done an excellent job of taking all the positive praise and also not really letting the negative attention that some people, whether it's people that are fake fans in her fan bases or just people that want to spew hatred towards her, she hasn't really let that got into her. And that's very impressive, I definitely will say. But AP Female Athlete of the Year, I mean, this is big. This is big. This is big. Back-to-back historical seasons, once again, in Iowa and also in the WNBA. It's been very impressive. I mean, when we talk about Iowa, her senior year, we're talking about sold out every home game that she was played in, sold out every road game that she went to travel. She was the main attraction. Similar to what happened in the Indiana Fever, it carried. The momentum continued in the pros. Like, her number 22 jersey is being retired as we speak in this upcoming February. So all the momentum for is like her fan base and the popularity that she had in Iowa from her junior to senior year, but really her senior year is when like all eyes and all attention was really locked in and glued in on her. That momentum carried over from her senior year all the way through her rookie season. And when we talk about record-breaking historical season, we're not just talking about a rookie season. We're talking about, I keep talking about it, her senior year in college with Iowa. And went from senior year to rookie of the year, senior year, NBA rookie, like WNBA rookie. Like, it was something we never really seen before. And people don't understand and realize, like, the amount of pressure, like the amount of pressure that to go in and have to dominate for is having played in your senior year and all the attention that you got and playing March Madness and going on the Final Four run and then having to go out and do the exact same thing and play basketball and not really get a break that you deserve. It's very like, it's very hard. It's very hard. It's very hard. It's very hard. Let me know in the comments what y'all think on my truth teller. It's very hard. It was no break. She didn't get the same type of break that rookies or training camp that really rookies get in the NBA. It was really go from March Madness, Final Four, all this attention, all this momentum, a little break, get drafted, then you're playing literally as a rookie in the summertime. Short window, short resting window. Everything had to be strictly go from basketball, little break, back to basketball. It's like she had no off time. And that's very challenging. That's why we see a lot of rookies tend to struggle their first year entering the WNBA because of the adjustment, the physicality. The women are better, more talented. The coaches are way better, know how to strategize more. And a lot of women go from college into their first season and they tend to struggle. But when we talk about Caitlin Clark, all her accomplishments, back-to-back historical seasons. She had a historical season with the Iowa, and then she had a historical season with the Indiana Fever as a rookie. We're talking about Caitlin Clark, who broke Caitlin Plum's scoring record, 3,527 points at Michigan, February 15, 2024. She also became the all-time leading scorer, surpassing Pete Maravich at LSU. Like, she returned to the national title game in 2024 as well, but she lost to South Carolina, undefeated South Carolina team. So it's just like when we talk about her and what she did, this year was truly, truly historic. And then we talk about all the broadcasting and streaming records that she broke. The WNBA was up 300%. And that's largely part to Caitlin Clark's impact with her breaking records on ABC, CBS, ION, ESPN, ESPN2, all those great things, having, all record viewership when the Fever games were on. And then we talk about the NCAA Women's Champions game outdrew the NCAA Women's Championship game outdrew the men's championship game, and that was for the first time in like 42 years, 43 years, and it had 18.9 million viewers. People turned in and locked in. Like, that was one of the most watched sporting events outside of the Olympics in USA television history. So, and then she got drafted, and when she got drafted, that had 2.4 million viewers. So we're talking about a woman that is box office. We're talking about a woman that has a lot of eyes on her. We're talking about a woman that this season deserves everything that she truly received and accomplished, because all this really stemmed for her play on the basketball court. I always will harp on that. I always will go back onto that, because the product and what you do on the basketball court matters. And we know Caitlin Clark for producing and playing the game of basketball. Everything else that comes with that, it doesn't happen if she wasn't cold, if she wasn't a bucket, if she wasn't a generator, if she wasn't a 4-level scorer, if she wasn't had a quick handle, if she wasn't a showman, that showmanship. Like, all that stems for what she does on the basketball court. So I just want to, kind of talk about that a little bit. Shout outs to Caitlin Clark. She is the AP Female Athlete of the Year. Once again, it's very, very impressive. There's nothing that nobody can take that away from her, and she truly, truly deserves it. And it brings into account, is she going to complete the holy, I can't say trifecta because it's not 3. Is she going to complete the biggest, when we talking about all Sports Illustrated? Somebody said, hopefully Sports Illustrated don't F this up. So we see her as the Times Athlete of the Year. That's what we see. Best sports business athlete. This is talking about everything that she's done as a business, and her charging $100,000 just for, I think, a Zoom interview, and her popularity and all the business adventures that she's doing. And then we have her being honored as a Female Athlete of the Year, following her impact on women's sports, which will probably, to me, I would say this is probably the biggest one, because it talks about her impact on the women's game. It talks about how the WNBA is the most growing sports league this year, largely because of Caitlin Clark. When it talks about streaming networks and the streaming viewership, that the growth in percentages of how quickly they increase due to her games, her platform as well. So it's I think this may be the biggest one, but then we got Sports Illustrated that has to come out, and hopefully they announce Caitlin Clark to be the Sports Illustrated Athlete of the Year. Who knows? They may go with the women's team, who was an underdog in this Olympics, and they ended up winning. So maybe possibly, I think they were ranked 4th, but they ended up winning. So that maybe it would be them. I do not know. But it's going to be very interesting to see what Sports Illustrated does. Because you never know. Some companies may try to play it safe. You never know who is going to do what. And then we got, let's see. So yeah, shout out to Caitlin Clark, AP Female Athlete of the Year, transforming women's sports. There's nothing more you can say about that. She is the truth, and I think we also got to get to the point. I'm also getting tired of seeing like when we talk about Caitlin Clark, and it seems like when you're watching these sports debate shows on these large networks, it just seems like every time somebody in college women's basketball right now does something great, they're instantly comparing them to Caitlin Clark, and they're instantly saying that this person needs to get talked about the same as Caitlin Clark. And one, I'm kind of getting annoyed. I'm kind of getting tired. And it's also very frustrating because of the fact of the matter. It's just like the women's game is growing in a way that it's going to be unprecedented in a few years when we talk about the impact of the WNBA and the women's basketball and how big it's going to become when a lot of this talent goes from college into the WNBA ranks. But what people tend to do, and in the media, they keep talking about Caitlin Clark as if she's not already there. We got to stop mentioning Caitlin Clark when we talk about Juju, when we talk about Hannah, when we talk about Fly J, when we talk about Paige Beckers, unless we're talking about something strictly about basketball and different types of play styles, that's one thing. But we got to stop mentioning Caitlin Clark's name when people talk about, well, they should be talked about just as much as Caitlin Clark. They should be talked about and highlighted as much as Caitlin Clark was in Iowa, because all those women that I mentioned didn't do what Caitlin Clark did in college basketball. All those women that I mentioned, they participate and they play in powerhouse colleges in the women's game. LSU has always been a powerhouse. South Carolina has always been a powerhouse. UConn has always been a powerhouse. Notre Dame has always been a powerhouse. Iowa was not a powerhouse. None of them had this type of play style, and none of them could do what Caitlin Clark necessarily did in the college game. When we talk about taking a team like Iowa to 2 straight back-to-back championship appearances with the team that she had. We look at we look at USC's roster with Juju. She got top 5 and top 10 talents and recruits, just like with UConn, just like with LSU. Look at LSU. Morrow is going to be drafted this upcoming year with Fly J. Like Fly J is a sophomore, or I think it's sophomore or junior. But it's just like they have WNBA talent. And I know Kate Martin got drafted by Iowa, and Kate Martin has proved and deserved it. She showed that, like, she can play in the WNBA, but she wasn't a highly coveted recruit, similar to the players that LSU, Notre Dame, South Carolina, and USC have. So it's really levels when we talk about Caitlin Clark's college basketball career and the things that she accomplished and the things that she did. We got to let these women be great. We got to let these women compare with one another and compete at the college ranks and the college level and continue to develop, because Caitlin Clark's in the WNBA. What she did in college is what she did in college. Constantly comparing these players to Caitlin Clark and saying that they need to be mentioned like her, they need to be highlighted like her, they need to be shined on like her, when the fact of the reality is they just aren't as good as her or impactful as her doing the things that Caitlin Clark did in college, because it was something that we haven't really seen. A generator in college that didn't go to a powerhouse program, that took a non-powerhouse program into the Final Four, back-to-back national championship games, broke all kinds of records, didn't have a top 10 recruit as a partner, didn't have a top 25 recruit as a running mate. Like, it's levels. So you're doing them a disservice and almost like just a disservice when you keep mentioning them when you have to talk about the game of basketball for the college women's side. We can talk about Hannah. We can talk about Flaja. We can talk about Flowers. We can talk about Paige Beckers. We can talk about Juju, because that is the talent, that is the crop that is really great, that really needs attention. But we don't have to mention Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark, let her do her thing. Caitlin Clark is preparing for her sophomore year. We can talk about Caitlin Clark in WNBA aspects of her not joining on Rival, talk about her not playing, talk about her getting better, talking about her highlights, talk about working on her game, talk about the AP Female Athlete of the Year, talk about the Times Athlete Sports Person of the Year. That's what we can talk about Caitlin Clark, but it's too much of like the constant trying to vocalize other women athletes in the women's game not being mentioned like Caitlin Clark was, when the fact of the matter is they're not really doing what Caitlin Clark has done in the women's game for the college ranks, and they need to focus in on the talent that they have and the eyes on the people that they have. Because you look at Hannah is probably going to win the national. Hannah Hidalgo is cold, 5'6", a bucket, can play make, can score from the three-point line like a dog on the perimeter side of the basketball court. She's going to probably win the AP Player of the Year. Like, she's talented, she's gifted, she's cold. Let's talk about her. Let's talk about Juju and Paige Beckers going ham, guarding each other. Both wanted that matchup, both wanted that head-to-head matchups. We can talk about those specific women without mentioning Caitlin Clark, because you're doing college women's basketball a disservice by constantly talking about Caitlin Clark when Caitlin Clark has already gone off and she's in the WNBA and she's waiting and she's focused on her future, her goals, and trying to be the best player in the WNBA. The women got to catch up because they're younger than her and they're not in the league yet. We'll worry about them when they get to the league. Right now, they need to worry about on the college game. So that's just my 2 cents. But I'm just tired of watching all these big time sports networks mention Caitlin Clark when they mention Juju Beckers. When they mention Juju Watkins, Paige Beckers, Hannah Hidalgo, Flage, Malaysia Flowers. Like, that is so much talent. That is like, let's talk about them. Let's talk about women's college basketball. And if you're really a fan of women's basketball, it goes beyond Caitlin Clark. So let's not just always include Caitlin Clark when we want to mention and talk about these young women. Let's just talk about their game. Let's talk about their talent. Let's talk about their skill set. Let's talk about their potential and everything that they're doing on the women's floor for the college side. So that's just here or there. And we got the Christmas games coming up tomorrow. Happy holidays for everybody. If you celebrate Christmas, have a Merry Christmas. I hope so. And we got the San Antonio Spurs versus the New York Knicks. That's the first matchup. That's the noon game. And I'm going to roll with the New York Knicks because I think Karl-Anthony Towns is not getting the credit he deserves. And I know if you are a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, I know you're probably like, what the hell? We gave up Karl-Anthony Towns, who's averaging 25 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists, shooting 53.7% from the field. We gave that up for Julius Randle. We gave up our core piece and lost Karl-Anthony Towns to not even be probably to be a playing team. Karl-Anthony Towns right now, to me personally, and this is my opinion. This is my opinion. 24 points per game, 14 rebounds, 3 assists, 53.7% from the field, 45% for the three-point line, 84% from the free throw line. Karl-Anthony Towns is looking, outside of Nikola Jokic, like the second best NBA center in the league right now. He's the best player on the New York Knicks right now. He looks extremely comfortable. He's scoring from the perimeter. He's playing more active on the defensive side on the court. He just fits the New York Knicks and what they're trying to do, and he's the best player on the New York Knicks. They have a legitimate star player. Not saying Jalen Brunson is not a star, but this is their best big man since Patrick Ewing. Like, he has been so impactful. He has really came in and really have legitimized the New York Knicks in being a true title contender. Like, they are really, really different and really, really good with Karl-Anthony Towns. He seems like he was a missing piece. He was the secret. He was the secret formula that they needed. Like, Karl-Anthony Towns has been a problem. He's been a problem outside of Dirk Nowitzki. He's probably the most. Outside of Dirk Nowitzki, Karl-Anthony Towns is probably the best shooting big man of all time. Outside of Dirk Nowitzki, he fits the New York Knicks. It feels like he was made to be with the Knicks. It's like it's tough. It's tough. It's really tough. He's been extremely good. He's rebounding, and he just fits the part. He looks comfortable. Him and Jalen Brunson can play off each other, and I would still like to see Karl Towns still get in the post and develop his post game a little more because I feel like he's going to need that come the playoff time, especially in the half court setting. But the New York Knicks look really, really good because they got Jalen Brunson, who can create his own shot and score in a variety of ways. They got Karl Towns, who is a dominant big man and looks like the best center in the league outside of Nikola Jokic, of course. He's been the second best center this regular season. I think with the defensive wings that they have as well, Mikal Bridges, and they got OG. Like they can do some things. They probably one piece away, but I've been very impressed with the New York Knicks, and it's coming from a Knicks hater. I hate the Knicks. But Karl Towns is looking right, man. And Victor Wembanyama for the San Antonio Spurs, it just seems like he just played on national TV the other day against the Philadelphia Sixers, and we know Philadelphia on NBA TV, Joel Embiid got ejected, of course. But it just seems like I haven't seen Victor Wembanyama play on national TV for a while. It's like he's dominating, he's putting up these stats and numbers, but for whatever reason, the NBA is not highlighting supposedly the greatest prospect since LeBron James enough. And people are talking about viewership numbers are down. People are talking about, well, how come viewership numbers are down and nobody's watching the NBA? They're not even promoting the greatest prospect outside of LeBron James in most people's eyes, Victor Wembanyama, on national TV. And I know the Spurs aren't that great, but if you have a transcending type of talent like Victor Wembanyama is supposed to be, you want people to be glued in and locked in and engaged on him. So I don't know what the NBA is doing in that front, but then we got the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Dallas Mavericks. I have no faith in the Minnesota Timberwolves anymore. I feel bad for Anthony Edwards. We already talked about Karl-Anthony Towns. You let Karl-Anthony Towns basically go because of financial reasons and to really not go over the luxury tax. And you stood up and said that we did that because we wanted to re-sign Naz Reid. We wanted to make sure that Anthony Edwards was going to have a legitimate opportunity to compete for championships and have a championship window. You closed your championship window the minute you traded Karl-Anthony Towns for Julius Randle and Dante. Dante doesn't even look like he wants to be there with the Minnesota Timberwolves. The fit is not there. Julius Randle has been a ball stopper. He can't be the second best player on a legitimate good team. And I like Julius Randle a lot, but he doesn't fit what the Minnesota Timberwolves are trying to do. They have no offense. They have no flow. There's no rhythm. They are horrible. And you have Anthony Edwards coming out and basically saying that I don't have anything to say, when one of the most authentic stars in the league that constantly speaks and expresses and says things that's on his mind. When he comes out and says, I don't have anything to say, that's a red flag. If I'm a GM, I'm getting on the phone. I'm like, we got to figure out something. And Julius Randle is supposed to be a free agent this upcoming season. You got to figure out, get on that phone and trade him, because there's no way they're going to re-sign him. Dante, you need to figure out how to trade him. This has been a disaster for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I'm going to pick the Dallas Mavericks because I don't have any faith in Anthony Edwards' new team in comparison last year. The CBA. The CBA really has. This is the worst CBA ever, because it's forcing teams to get rid of players, especially small market teams, and even players that they're drafted, they're eventually going to have to get rid of because they want to. You only can have 2 stars, and then you only can sign one player for the mid-level exception. It's like, it's so bad. It's so bad, but you can thank CJ McCollum for that. So 5 o'clock, Boston versus the Philadelphia Sixers. And this is a true test for the Philadelphia Sixers. And it's crazy I'm saying that because the Philadelphia Sixers are 10-17. But we know they started off with a lot of injuries, Joel Embiid being out, Paul George being out, then Tyrese Maxey got hurt. And I feel like they're still talented enough to get back into a playoff position. Yes, they are 7 games below 500. But yes, they are in the Eastern Conference. Yes, I still believe if they can go on a run, get some wins going, and also I feel like Joel Embiid has to play better. He hasn't been the MVP caliber Joel Embiid that we have seen, whether that's regardless because he's keep getting hurt and the injuries and things of that nature. But the goal is to have him healthy by postseason, but you have to make it to the postseason. Paul George has been so far uneventful. This is not the Paul George that we grown accustomed to seeing. It's not even the Paul George that we saw last year with the Los Angeles Clippers. He needs to be better. He needs to improve. And we already know that they lost one of their promising rookies out for the rest of the year, MCL injury. Tyrese Maxey was a showman, is a bucket, is a combo guard, can score in a variety of ways. He has to take another leap. He has to take the step, because if Paul George is not going to be a legitimate second option on a nightly basis, then it's up to Tyrese Maxey to really fill in that role and be that 1B to Joel Embiid's 1A. But Boston Celtics is the best team in the league right now. Talk about Jason Tatum. If you follow me on AKISS NBA, people have been talking about Jason Tatum, the hate, all the bullshit. But to be honest, Jason Tatum is the most complete basketball player in the league right now. And completeness is not just on the offensive side, it's also on the defensive side of the basketball court. He's a 6'9", small forward, wing, whatever you want to call, that handles the ball like a guard, that can guard 1 through 4 on the basketball court, and occasionally can guard 5s depending on the matchup, can score in a variety of ways, 3-level scorer. First step is lethal, getting to the rim, elite at finishing at the rim. He's increased his muscle mass and his overall strength, being able to take and absorb contact. He's back to shooting the mid-range shot as well and taking what the defense gives him at times. He's a glass cleaner, averaging 9.4 rebounds per game, 28 points this season, 37% for the three-point line. And he's an elite playmaker for his position. He is extremely complete. He should be in the MVP top 3, top 4, but on whatever narratives that they have going on and agendas that the league wants to necessarily push. And I mean, when I say the league, I mean the media members that get to vote on these types of awards, because last year I feel like it should have been SGA. And this year, Jason Tatum is barely top 5. Best player on the best team. And to go off all the things that I just said, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of ridiculous. But, I'm not the one that's voting. But a lot of times the way I view the game of basketball, the people that are actually voting on these awards, they're looking at analytics. They're looking at those stats. It's crazy because I used to work in analytics, and even working in analytics, you see that those numbers that people are generating and pushing out don't always tell the full story. But for the Philadelphia Sixers and the Boston Celtics, I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to say that the Philadelphia Sixers beat the Boston Celtics. I'm going to go with the upset. I feel like this is the game where the Philadelphia Sixers comes out with something to prove, comes out to show that we're about to get on the right track, and comes out to show that they're about to go on a run. They got all their guys back healthy. It's time for them to go on a run. It's time for them to show that, this is the team that we're going to be going forward for the remainder of the season. And this is a team that can still compete in the Eastern Conference. I think they're going to get the upset. Los Angeles Lakers, Golden State, who cares? And it's crazy because you can make a case that for his father time, LeBron has outlasted Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry has been not the Stephen Curry we've grown accustomed to seeing. Stephen Curry, due to his knee injuries and something he's going to have to manage. But for us, like this season, Stephen Curry has not looked the way that most people have grown accustomed to seeing Stephen Curry. And LeBron James is still dominating. He's still being that great player that we've grown accustomed to seeing, and that longevity is still there. But it's crazy. I don't know if Steph is hurt. I don't know if he needs some time off, but it's different right now in Golden State. And they got to figure out what they want to do with John Kuminga. And they got to figure out if they're going to trade him, get rid of him, or unlock, say, here, the team is going to be yours after Stephen Curry retires. But they got to figure out some things in Golden State. There's some issues there that are brewing. And it just goes to show you the Golden State Warriors really dropped the ball for the draft picks, because they had an opportunity to draft LaMelo Ball. He could have been a successor to Stephen Curry, that's fine. They could have traded down and get Tyrese Halliburton. They did not do that either. They drafted James Wiseman over LaMelo Ball. James Wiseman's not even there anymore. Jonathan Kuminga's there. Like they let Jordan Poole go for Chris Paul, and Jordan Poole, who was kind of like could have been a successor to Stephen Curry as well. He's not there anymore. They're missing another creator. And then they just traded for Dennis Schroeder, but Dennis Schroeder doesn't really fit the Golden State Warriors because he's more of a PNR type of point guard. So I don't know what the Golden State Warriors are doing right now, but for this Lakers game, Lakers versus Golden State Warriors, it's a toss-up. I'll pick the Lakers to win. And I'm not really impressed and moved by the Los Angeles Lakers either because for some reason, it's just like they have Anthony Davis, who's in the midst of his prime, and they don't want to go out and make a move to make sure that they can actually be a legitimate championship contender. It just seems like they are more comfortable with knowing the fact that they're going to sell out arenas. They're going to have people come watch LeBron and Anthony Davis play, but they're really not trying to compete for a championship. And it's a shame because when you get to the playoffs, outside of the Denver Nuggets, the Los Angeles Lakers have showed they're capable of beating anybody. So, I don't know. That's that on that. Denver Nuggets versus Phoenix Suns. Denver just whooped Phoenix ass this yesterday. I don't know if Devin Booker's going to be back and playing Christmas night. If he is, I'm rolling with the Phoenix Suns. If he's not, I'm rolling with the Denver Nuggets again. Nikola Jokic has been incredibly impressive. Michael Porter Jr. has been coming on in late, especially with those trade rumors. He came out and basically said how, he's heard about those trade rumors. The organization has basically said that's just noise, that's just talk. But he also mentioned that, I wouldn't expect them to tell me if it wasn't. So who knows what's happening with the Denver Nuggets. I think they're going to stay the course because you still have your core and you won a championship with your core. And I feel like if Jokic is the best player in the world, we got to stop with some of the excuses because his core is better than some, and he's in his prime and he's the best player in the world, but his core is better than some of the greatest basketball players who were the best players in the world, teams that they used to be on. So he needs to figure out a way to get it done. And I'm not saying that this is a slight to Nikola Jokic because it's like, what else more can he do? But I'm saying when you got the best player in the world, come the postseason, you got a chance to win it all. And that's how I feel about Nikola Jokic. That's how I feel about the Denver Nuggets. So if Booker back, picking the Phoenix Suns. If he's not, rolling with the Denver Nuggets. But it's your boy, Mike K. Smith. I appreciate y'all. Chat. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Also follow me on AKISS NBA on all the social media platforms. I'm gone, man.